All right, thank you, Lena. Yes, we're from Thomastown, as you said. What we thought we would do, we would start off our presentation today by giving you, so you have a clearer understanding of our process in terms of developmental management. We'd give you a bit of a background about our college and the structure of our college, because it is very different. Some of you might be aware of our college and the way we're structured, but I think a lot of you may not be. And I think it's important to understand that so you can understand the process that we have followed and why we have followed that process in that way. Thomastown Secondary College is made up of mini schools, and they're known as units. So during our presentation, we'll constantly keep referring to the term units. There are 3 Year 7 to 10 units, gold, blue and red, and 1 VCE unit, which I'm a part of. Dave's red unit, Nick's gold, and Veronica is blue. They're the unit leaders of those units. Each unit has about 120 students in the Year 7 and 10 units, and about 10 staff per unit. Now, when I say 10 staff, those staff comprise of science teachers, maths teachers, English teachers, science teachers. So unlike in many other schools where you might have, in high schools, the English faculty in one place, science faculty in another place, we're kind of all mixed together. And that has a lot of benefits, we feel. Students stay in the same unit from Year 7 to 10. So they move in from grade 6 into a particular unit. Automatically they feel part of a part of the school, given that they've come from a primary school. I know there's a lot of primary schools here today. They're used to being perhaps more with their grade teacher. I know they do other specialist subjects, but for most of the time, I imagine they're with their grade teacher, and they come to high school and it's a different experience. They're moving around from one class to the other for each subject. So they come into the unit, and that gives them a bit of a base straight away. But we also place them within a home group within that unit. So there's about 5 home groups per each unit. Each home group is comprised of Year 7 to 10 students, 4 year levels. They have the same home group teacher for 4 years. That home group teacher will know those students very, very well, and will also know their parents very well. The first point of contact for the parents will be the home group teacher. At report night, parent-teacher interviews, it's the home group teacher that gives out the actual report. I mean, if parents have a specific request to speak to a maths teacher, we can organise that, or an English teacher, but it's the home group teacher that gives the report. And each unit has a physical location. So gold's in one part of the school, red's in one part of the school, blue and VC in another part of the school. They have their own staff room with those 10 staff, and four general classrooms surrounding that particular unit. The staff know their students very well. Everyone knows every student very, very well. The home group teacher takes responsibility, overall responsibility for the students in the end, for their social development, behavioural progress. There's very good communication between the unit staff. Because we have, every Tuesday, we have weekly unit meetings. Because we're actually based in those units, we do have a main staff room, and some teachers will sit there perhaps at lunch, but the majority of times we stay in our particular unit. So there's a lot of communication between staff about the students and what little Johnny's doing, what he did today in science, and etc. There's an immediate chance to discuss students in the staff room, so we don't have to wait till the actual meeting comes around to actually discuss issues. Email, of course, makes it even easier. Of course, we do have teachers who teach in other units, who are based in other units and who actually teach in, say, for example, in Veronica's home group, Veronica's unit, who's in blue unit, that's blue unit. She may have staff that teach her students, but they're based in Nick's unit. So, we try and maintain that communication as much as possible. Obviously, emailing has made it even easier for us now. Unit leaders, well, we're the 4 unit leaders. We're the leading teachers, and we're also the members of the school leadership team. The unit leaders are also, the many hats that we have, the learning leaders in the AIZ project. We're members of the school SIG group, and we're also the PLT team leaders. Anything else that we do? Okay.
Rubbish bins.
Rubbish bins, that's high priority too. We meet weekly to plan and review the AIZ progress and see how we're going. But we're also supported by other coordinators in the units. These guys have unit coordinators, and they're responsible for looking after things like class lists and perhaps discipline and purchasing of resources. Okay, it's not. Okay. So in terms of trying to adopt a whole school approach, we feel that our unit structure facilitates this enormously. It's driven by us, the unit leaders. The PD is delivered, any PD is usually delivered at a curriculum day or as a whole school, and then we follow that up, that PD, within our respective units. I think this gives us, we feel, a consistent approach. We feel that we're all doing the same thing. So you can imagine in a structure like ours, it can become difficult, I guess, because we are sort of, in a sense, working on our own, but so critical that we are, with these sort of projects, that we are doing the same thing. So when we meet, we discuss, we go back to the units, get a consistent approach, we discuss it again, it goes back to the units again. Eventually a policy of some sort is implemented. It's implemented in the actual classroom. We find that by going through this process, the staff feel that they've been a part of it. They don't suddenly say, well, how did this come about? Who decided about this? So they feel being part of the process. Oh, that's true. I'm the VC coordinator, and actually what we find also is that even though my staff are based in VC unit, the VCE teacher don't just teach VCE, some may, but some also go back and will feed back into each of the units and maybe offer, could be teaching a science subject. So if I'm a chemistry teacher in Year 11, I might be teaching junior science or mid-science in one of the other units as well. All right, Dave. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, John. We want to go now as you talk about what we call our classroom learning plans, and I wanted to begin by stressing that these are things that we've done actually before the ARZ, but they fit in, we think, quite well with Ray's ideas. The idea of the classroom learning plan is it's a discussion between the class and the classroom teacher about expectations for behaviour, rules, consequences, and so on. Now these are they're individual, they're done in consultation with the class. So what we thought we might do is just give you a sample of one from one class. I've got to stress that each class is individual, so each classroom learning plan is probably a little bit different, but this is just to give you a certain flavour. So what this class did was looked at expectations, rules and consequences. And this was basically brainstormed and developed as a group. This is what the kids came up with. The teacher did very little of this, except just sort of pull it all together. So the first thing they said was, respect each other, be polite, treat others how you want to be treated yourself, get involved. So, help other students. So they're saying get involved with the learning itself. Listen to what the teacher has to say, listen to what other students have to say, complete your work, be punctual. What you'll notice that these expectations are actually directed more at positive behaviours. I think you'll find the rules and the consequences are directed at misbehaviour, but the expectations are basically about what can you do to be the best student. And this is what the students were saying to each other. Do they always follow this? Sometimes, not always. The rules are pretty straightforward. Once you actually ask kids what rules do you want in the classroom, they usually come up with stuff that you would have said anyway, but they see them as coming from themselves. So, don't muck around. Don't disrupt other students' learning. And it's interesting that the kids themselves come up with that focus that poor behaviour is actually, the consequence of that is stopping themselves from learning. So they know that. They understand that quite well. Don't interrupt the teacher, put your hand up, follow instructions and so on. And finally, no fights and threats and bullying. And don't bring food into class. So again, those are the rules that the kids came up with. And then we said to them, well, if you break these rules, what consequences should students receive? And it's interesting that they come up with Raymond's idea that you have a known set of consequences of increasing severity. So they want warnings. They think warnings are the right thing. They think you should have a chance to settle without an immediate punishment. But then you notice, each punishment gets a little bit more severe. If they have a couple of warnings, they don't follow it, then they should get some sort of detention, and it builds in severity.